Now let's see how we can scatter point onto the deforming geometry, and we want the scatter point to stick onto the deforming geometry. So let's see how we can do that. So as always, let's create an edge geometry node and let's dive inside. And in here, I'm going to add a geometry crag, that is an animated geometry. So let's add our lovely crag in here. And if we hit play, and here as you can see, our crag is animated. And now let's scatter some points onto the surface of crag geometry. So let's add a scatter node in here and let's connect this and let's view the result. And here as you can see, only one point has been scattered, and that is because if we middle mouse button onto our crag geometry, here as you can see, that is an pack geometry, and in order for the scatter node to work, we need to unpack it. So let's add an unpack node in here and let's connect this. And now if I middle mouse button, now we have a regular polygonal geometry. So now let's connect this on scatter node onto the unpack node, and now we have points scattered correctly. Now if we hit play, here as you can see, our points are moving all around onto the surface, and that is because our geometry is animated and it is deforming on every frame. So if I were to copy some geometry, let's say if I want to copy a box in here, let's add box and let's add a copy to points node, copy to points, and that is the geometry and these are our points. And let's view the result. Let's lower down the box uniform scale, something like that, and let's view the result. And here as you can see, our box are moving all around. That is because they are not sticking onto our animated geometry. Let's make this box a little bit more lower. That is fine. Okay, and to fix this, what we can do, we can add a time shift node. Let's add a time shift and let's connect this. And onto the time shift node, let's bring up its parameter, and onto the frame, right click and let's delete its channel. So now we are removing all of the animation. Okay, so now we are only using one single frame, the static frame. So if I hit play, here as you can see, our animation has been removed. And if I view my copy to points, here as you can see, the clock icon has been disappeared. That means that these nodes are not time dependent. Okay, so to bring back my animation, I can use a node called point deform. Let's add a point deform node in here. Point deform node has 3 inputs: the mesh to deform, and I want to deform these scattered points, and it has a rest point lattice. So the time shift node, that is our rest point lattice. So let's click this and press and hold the Alt key and click to add a point dot, and let's connect this. That is our rest point lattice. If I view the result, here you can see, these are our rest geometry. It's not moving. And the last one, we have the animated geometry deforming point lattice, and for this one I'm going to add the unpack node. So let's draw a wire in here and press the Alt key to add a point. Let's add another point in here and let's connect this. And now if I view the result, now we are deforming our points. And now if I were to use these points onto the copy to points, we should have a good result. Okay, so you can use the point deform node, but however, the point deform node will not always produce accurate result, and it's actually quite slow. And if we focus onto these points, let's increase the number of points onto the scatter node. Let's go into the scatter. Let's increase the force count. Okay, and now let's view the result and pay attention to this section, especially in here. Here as you can see, we have this arrangement, and if I hit play, and as we are deforming here, as you can see, our this animation is breaking. Okay, and also our animation is quite slow. And to fix this, we have an node called attribute interpolate. And to explain this, let me duplicate all of this setup, select all of them, press and hold the alt key and drag to duplicate this. And for this one, we don't need the point deform node, but we are going to use all of this setup as before. And we have an node called attribute interpolate. Let's add this, and the attribute interpolate node require destination geometry, and that is the scatter point is our destination geometry, and the source from where we want the attributes to be interpolated, and that should be our animated geometry. And let me add a point in here and connect this. Okay, and if we view the result here, as you can see, this node is throwing an error. If we bring up the parameter of this node, for this node to work, it requires these two attributes, the source prim and source prim UV, and we can get these attribute onto the scatter node. Here, if we go into the scatter node and go into the output attribute, and let's enable the prim num for the primitive number and the prim UV attributes. So what these attributes are, these are basically the barycentric coordinates. If we zoom in into our geometry, and here, as you can see, we have all of these polygons. If I enable my polygon number, okay, for example, we have a polygon of 60444. So this polygon, this has its own primitive number as well as its UV position. So UV coordinates, these are what called the barycentric coordinates. So when we are scattering the points, the scatter node, let me template the scatter, sorry, not bypass, but template the scatter, or maybe view this and template our geometry. Okay, it's a little bit hard to see, but let me zoom in into one of this section. So whenever we are scattering these points, we are basically scattering somewhere around one of these primitives, and we have the primitive number as well as where we are in the primitive position, in the UV position, and that is called the barycentric coordinates. And this scatter node, when it scatter, it will store the primitive number where it is currently placed as well as its UV position. Okay, so now we have that information. If I middle mouse button, I have a source prim as well as source prim UV. And now if I view the result with the attribute interpolate, now we do not have any error. And now if I view the result, and here, as you can see, it's working way faster and it is much more stable and accurate. It will always give you accurate result. Okay, and here, as you can see, now we do not have any breaking problems. And if I were to continue increase the number of points, let's go into the option, let's increase them to a crazy high value, and let's view. And here, as you can see, it's crazy fast. And if we compare this to the point deform node, let me copy this same number of points onto this scatter, paste it, and let's view the result. Let's hit play, and here, as you can see, it is breaking off. We can actually get away with this artifact by going onto the point deform and adjusting the radius, and hit play. And here, as you can see, now we have a smooth transition. Let's continue increasing its radius as well as number of points, but we will not get accurate result. Okay, and let me make these values to their default. Okay, or maybe let's increase the radius for a smoother transition. And now let's compare the performance of both of these nodes. And to compare this, let's add a merge node in here. Let's merge this, and maybe let's add a transform node to add a bit of offset in there. Let's view both of them, zoom out, and onto the transform. Let's add the translation in the X and hit play. Okay, and now let's compare the speed of both of these nodes. Let's go into this pane tab by going to the new tab, new pane tab, and let's enable our performance monitor. Let's enable that, and let's click on this record option to record the performance and hit play. Let me go back onto my geometry level, and here as you can see our point deform node is slow, indicated in red. Let me stop this, and our attribute interpolate node is green, which means it's working fast. And we can compare their cook time by going on to the performance, and here as you can see the point deform node is taking almost 4 seconds compared to the attribute interpolate node, which is taking almost 1 millisecond, I guess. We can confirm that if I go into the point deform and press and hold the middle mouse button, and here as you can see it has a 3.9 second of time as compared to the attribute interpolate, which has a 99 millisecond, and it is much more accurate and fast attribute interpolate node. Okay, so that's how you can scatter the points onto the deforming geometry. Okay, let's view the result, and here as you can see it's way faster. And maybe let me make the box size a bit lower because we are working with a lot more points, something like that. Okay, overall it's looking very cool, guys. Maybe let's hide this UV visualization by clicking on this UV option, and let's click this one more time. Now we do not have this UV visualizer. Okay,